Now let's talk about battery life, because that's the thing that I'm most concerned about when I bought the Apple Watch. I think because I had such low initial expectations for this watch initially, I was genuinely surprised that it managed to go through a single day without an issue. Like, it is not even anywhere near dying soon, like when I get home. And it left about 30 to 40% usually. Of course, there are better ways to optimize the battery, such as going into the settings to adjust like the background app refresh. You can turn that off, or you can switch off certain background measurements if you don't need them. And there are also a lot of YouTube tutorials teaching you how to optimize the battery life. But a word of caution here, as I follow those tutorials exactly what they did, I find that my watch got dumber and dumber over time, because I would switch off a feature that they would recommend me to switch off, but I actually need that feature. Then in the end, I lose a lot of functionality from this watch. I would say don't follow their advice completely. Just play around with it and get through the day to see whether you actually need that feature or not. Because what's the point of a smartwatch if you were to switch off everything to optimize the battery life? But thankfully, once you get the right setting, it is something that you just set and forget, and you won't have to touch it for a long time. And I should also point out that as I was tinkering with the features on this watch, I realized that there's a lot of background activities going on. There's things like temperature monitoring, heart rate, your blood oxygen, crash detection, workout detection. There's so many things going on in the background, and I think that might be why the battery life on the Apple Watch is so low compared to the other fitness watches or smartwatches. And the fact that Apple still managed to make this thinner than the previous generation is something that's quite impressive. Although I would still say that objectively, the battery life on the watch is still bad, because other smartwatches can last 4 to 5 days and fitness watches can last like 1 week to 2 weeks. So I still do wish that Apple can increase the battery life so I can bring the watch on like a weekend overseas trip without having to bring the wireless charger along. As for charging speed, this Series 10 takes just 30 minutes to get from 0 to 80% of battery, whereas the Series 9 takes 45 minutes to get from 0 to 80%. And because I didn't use the Series 9 before, I couldn't really feel the difference, but I do feel that it charges quite quickly, because I would come home to about 30 to 40% of battery life, and just by putting this on the charger while I go get a bath and eat my dinner, I will come back to about a 80+% battery life. And I have to say that this is the first time I'm charging a watch using magnetic charging, and it is just so convenient compared to my Garmin watch, because the Garmin watch uses this plug that you have to connect to the underside of the watch, which feels like a Apple Magic Mouse kind of charging method, whereas this one, you can just toss it onto the wireless charger, it will snap into place and start charging. I've also used the Huawei Watch Fit 3, which also charges magnetically, but that one requires you to face the watch in a certain orientation in order to get the magnets to snap, otherwise it will repel each other and it will not charge. This one here is just so convenient compared to the other watches that I've owned before. And within just a few days, I managed to develop the muscle memory to simply charge my Apple Watch whenever I'm charging my iPhone, because I charge my iPhone every single day. And during the process, I sort of had this realization, like, if I'm already charging my iPhone every single day, why was I so bothered about charging my Apple Watch every single day as well? Because the process just takes about maybe 5 seconds more to unstrap the watch and put it on the magnetic charger, which is a very convenient process. So if you're also bothered by this very aspect of the Apple Watch, maybe thinking from this perspective might make you less hesitant to try the Apple Watch. Another feature I want to talk about is the double tap gesture, which basically, just by bringing your index and thumb finger together twice, you can trigger some sort of action on the Apple Watch. And the way I've been using it is during my rehab sessions, because a lot of you may not know, but I'm a physical therapist by training. So sometimes when I work with my elderly clients, I would do physical performance tests for them, and they require a stopwatch. But some of these patients have very poor balance and high fall risk, so I will need to keep both hands on the patient at all times, and I don't have another hand freed up to use my stopwatch on the phone. So previously I would need somebody else, like an assistant, to help me do the timing, but right now with this feature I can just keep my hands on the client or patient at all times. Then I can just do this double tap gesture and it will start or stop the stopwatch for me. Another thing I want to talk about is the vibration feature on the alarm clock app. So basically, the alarm clock on the iPhone uses a combination of sound and vibration to wake you up. But the sound is a lot more gentle and quiet compared to the ones we have on our iPhone, which we have all been rudely awakened by it before. And it also has this vibration feature, which basically just has a high frequency vibration and nudge you to wake up. And I feel a lot less sleep inertia in the morning with this vibration feature. Sleep inertia is basically the grogginess feeling that you feel in the morning, especially when you are rudely awakened by a super loud sound. And this has really made a pretty big quality of life difference, especially in the mornings, because I feel a lot less of that grogginess, and that feeling doesn't last as long compared to if I were to be rudely awakened by a very loud sound. And I've also tried this feature when my girlfriend is sleeping near me, and it did not wake her up at all, whereas a sound-based alarm clock from the iPhone would definitely have woken her up. At first, I thought that the vibration was quite weak, and I wasn't really sure it will wake me up every single time. So I tested it on non-working days or over public holidays, and every single time it never failed to wake me up. So right now I've been relying on this alarm clock feature completely for my mornings, and I've completely stopped using the alarm clock on the iPhones. The next thing I want to talk about is the camera preview feature on the Apple Watch, because with just a press of the camera control app, you can switch on the camera on your iPhone and your Apple Watch will get a preview of the screen right on your wrist. So this is a feature that I wish I had back when I started this YouTube channel, because previously I was filming with my iPhone, and one of the most annoying things that I encountered was trying to frame myself in the shot. Although right now I've switched to using a mirrorless camera to film myself, but when I'm outdoors, there are still situations where I need to film myself and I don't have somebody else with me. So in those situations when I don't have an Apple Watch with me, I would need to use the front-facing camera, which don't have the best video quality. But since I have the Apple Watch right now and I can do the camera preview, I can use the rear-facing camera, which produces much better video quality. And it is also really nice that you can just use the digital crown on the Apple Watch in order to adjust the focus distance. And it is also a way for you to switch between the ultra-wide, wide angle, and also the telescopic lens. The next thing I want to talk about is the automatic workout detection feature. I don't know about you, but I forget to record my activities quite frequently, and by the time I realize it, it's about 10 minutes of data gone already. With this automatic workout detection, my watch will save the past 4 to 5 minutes of data and prompt me to start recording when it is confident that I'm actually working out. Initially, the detection is not super accurate because you could have started like 15 minutes ago, but it only started detecting 10 minutes ago. But over time, as I'm using it more, I find that it's getting more and more accurate in realizing that I'm actually doing a certain activity like running, for example. And this doesn't just apply to running, it also applies to walking as well, because there were a few times when I'm out shopping with my girlfriend and we have been walking for some time, then I will get this notification on my watch prompting me to record the walk as an activity. And that is why if you were to look at my Strava, you will see that I have a lot more activities populated compared to before I owned the Apple Watch. I don't typically record my long walks because I don't think it's necessary, but now that the watch has made it so convenient for me to record data, I started recording it, and now I have more data points for my overall physical activity level. If you're still having reservations about the Apple Watch, I would strongly recommend you to go and try one for yourself, because it has seriously made a quality of life difference in my everyday life. Just tell your spouse or girlfriend that some random guy on YouTube convinced you to go and get it, and that's why you should be buying one. If you're interested in other Apple product reviews, why not check out my video on the iPad mini 7 so you can find out why I think that it is the most misunderstood tablet. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon.